It's your boy King Qwari here to deliver my thoughts on why I believe that X-Men Evolution is a better choice for a continuation than the 90s series. I also believe that it's better than the current, continuation we have in 97. But first, I want to shout out all of y'all to my supporters out there. Thank you so much. I can't believe I'm at 200 subs or 200 plus subs now. Thanks for all the views, likes, all the subs, all the feedback. Even if I'm wrong, that's how I learn. Some things I may not be correct on, so I'm always open to getting that creative feedback. And sometimes we disagree, but there's no hate on this side. Like, we can have a disagreement and still have a nice conversation. So I appreciate y'all. On the road to 1,000 subs. Let's go. Please like, sub, tell a friend, and feel free to give your 2 cents on my take. Alright, back to our regularly scheduled programming. So I originally was going to do a review of the last 3 97 X-Men episodes, but honestly, they've let me down, and I believe that, other people have conflicting opinions, which, it's not a reason for me not to do that. But instead of me just completely dumping and dunking on the series, I figured I'd rather be positive and shine some light, shine some attention on why I believe Evolution would be a better continuation overall than 97. I was inspired to do this for a handful of reasons. One of them being that I'm social media associates with someone who spearheaded X-Men Evolution. Shout out to Stephen E. Gordon. If you don't know who he is, definitely check him out. Also, X-Men Evolution is my favorite portrayal of the X-Men, so I felt like they deserved some more attention. So I wanted to give 5 main reasons why I think it's better. So here we go, in no particular order. Point 1. The School for the Gifted actually being used as a school. Having the majority of the cast being aged down gave us the opportunity to explore these characters' growth. Even in the comics, I always felt like the majority of the mutants were too old, and while I understood the concept of a school, this helped establish the whole school vibe a lot better to me. I'm not saying that we can't have older mutants who are just starting to learn how to use their abilities, but I think it really helps to make the school vibe more concrete with a bunch of young students. Having them figuring out their abilities as teens really made for a dope dynamic in the series. With the 90s series, everyone but Jubilee is an adult, and there's not a lot of opportunity for the characters to grow, as well as with their abilities, but just their personalities too. The characters seem more set in their ways. In 97, we see some really complex storylines with some characters, especially, with Cyclops and Jean. I know that this is a comic accurate story, but they added a little more humanity to it. Outside of these moments, I felt like the majority of the 90s characters are more like cardboard cutouts with set phrases, or like a Buzz Lightyear action figure where you hit a button and they say something over and over again. I think for the time it was great, don't get me wrong. Seeing how these characters, in Evolution navigate and change and grow into themselves was way more satisfying. So I got some spoilers coming in from Evolution just to prove one of my points. So if you haven't watched all of Evolution, or if you don't remember and you want to rewatch the series, feel free to give it a pause here. Alright, so if you're still with me, then you're cool with spoilers. So, seeing Cyclops change to Magneto's side in one of the season finales and connecting with his brother made sense, since he's a kid and was presented with an opportunity that made sense to him with his long lost brother on his side. 90s Scott would have never gone for that. That's what I mean by having them act actually as characters with malleable minds that are not set in their ways, makes for more interesting storytelling. Having Storm and Wolverine being older mentor-like figures along with Beast later on was great. I know that this is different than having the original first class of mutants and having them at their comic accurate ages, Not like the film, we're not talking about that trash film, the First Class film. Yeah, we're not talking about that, but I'm talking about the actual First Class of Mutants with Beast, Iceman, Cyclops, Angel. Did I already say Jean? Well, yeah, with those original 5. But honestly, they didn't even acknowledge all of the original mutants in the 97 series, which is one of the problems that I have with the series. But this is about the positive, Qwari. This is about the positive. Let me stay positive. But honestly, I didn't mind that the characters weren't the accurate First Class of Mutants. I just thought that the storytelling was really good, which leads directly into point number 2. The setting of this town that we're in. The story takes place in this one town, and all of its moving parts stay pretty much generally here. Having the Brotherhood of Mutants going to the same school as the X-Men during the day was genius. It gave the characters so many points of tension. Having to still play it cool in public in front of everyone. Having Mystique trying to get close to her daughter by shape-shifting into the principals and students. Oh, that's more spoilers, but again, if you're here with me, I'm assuming that we are alright with the spoilers. Another point with the setting, I think it's really cool to see what the show is able to do by staying in mostly the same places. In the 90s series, we see a lot of travel. It creates more of a villain of the week situation. We don't get to see the characters with their backs up against the walls unless the threat is big enough. In the first episode of X-Men Evolution, there's so much tension with the simplest of variables. Seeing the characters figure out themselves and navigating how their powers, like how to keep them in check, with the opposition in their faces every day is a big task. This made for a much more grounded show. I know that this is a superhero team, but I felt like since X-Men was inspired by the civil rights movement, having a more grounded series really lends itself to that mission. The next point I have is about the characters. I'll bring up a few characters who I really enjoyed in the series and how I feel like they were executed very strongly. The first character I'm going to address here is Wolverine. I felt like X-Men Evolution's Wolverine is leagues better than the 90s iteration. In the 90s, Wolverine was a lovesick puppy who's really hard to take seriously. I never liked him loving on Jean. It always felt like it was really forced. Wolverine is like hundreds of years old, and him liking Jean was really weird to me. I know that she had to, a lot to do with bringing him back and going through his memories and stuff like that from what I remember. But it just made Wolverine I don't know. In general, when I rewatched the 90s series, they made Wolverine extremely unlikable. I don't even like Cyclops usually, but Wolverine was hating on Cyclops so hard, ruining his car, punching him and bullying him, even though he's the leader in the field. I know Cyclops left Morph to die, and with this being Logan's bestie, it just set a tone for the rest of the series. Seeing that father figure Wolverine over in Evolution is so much better. It makes sense for him to be a father figure as he's so old and experienced. I also felt like this was more similar to his movie counterpart, who really carried those films. And I think it's the whole reason that they're bringing him back to carry another film. Having a Wolverine who isn't acting childish and selfish just makes him a better character. Like, he can be hot-tempered and not, cause problems on the team. But when his attitude completely ruins the vibe of the team, we gotta regroup. Wolverine can cause some issues and prove that he knows what he's doing without being a full-on pain in the butt. By giving him a different role as a mentor figure, he can do this without fully disrupting the team. When I watch the old episodes, I wonder how Logan even stays on the team while being so disrespectful and disruptive, to be honest. The second character I was going to speak about is my favorite, Kurt Wagner, aka Nightcrawler, my favorite X-Man. His Evolution version is my favorite. He sort of becomes the face of the team in my opinion. The iconic scene of him having so much fun dancing and showing off his tail before being reprimanded at the end of the opening credits in every episode sticks out in my mind. He was playful, as he usually is, and he has a really good vibe with each member of the team. When I look at the 90s cast, I love all the members, but it feels like having someone to lighten the mood was missing. I understand that bringing Morph back sort of does this a little bit. Even having Nightcrawler's recent cameos sort of does this, but when I look back at the original series, it felt pretty serious. I think the closest we got to that was Gambit as a mainstay character, and I love Gambit, but something about Kurt's energy was really infectious for me. The last character I have here is actually chosen, because he's one of my favorites, but also specifically for those who've been following me for the last few videos. I wanted to ensure more good black representation. So we have this in the character of Spike, who's Storm's nephew. I really enjoyed Spike as a character. He is seen playing basketball, but so is his rival, making this not a race thing, but more of a competition between him and Quicksilver. And this is only one time that we see him do basketball or anything basketball related in the series. He's got dope hair and a cool vibe. He's a skater kid, and I love his style. And his power making spikes was dope. It had really cool applications that he could use in the field. He has a dope rapport with everyone, similar to Kurt, but he's also a little bit more, I guess, like, maybe brash is the word. He was a little hot-headed sometimes. He would always rush in a little bit too much. And I feel like this is like perfect for him, having the rival of Quicksilver, whose ability is basically rushing in too much. It was cool to see Storm have some actual family outside of it just being in a special episode, as it was in the case of the 90s series. The only thing I wasn't the biggest fan of was when his power evolved. He kind of got written off the show to join the mutant underground, or I forget the name of those mutants, the ones that when they look too physically different from being human, they have to go live in the sewers with Leech and those other characters. Regardless of these choices, I do think that Spike's own abilities, the way that they evolved, were cool. Being able to superheat his spikes and having Spike-like armor was dope. Alright, so for my final point, it's about the storylines. I feel like the X-Men Evolution storylines are more coherent and connected. I'll use 97 as an example. Again, this will include spoilers. You've been warned. So the first episode back to 97, we have Storm lose her powers. This is supposed to be devastating for her, but other than the moment she loses it, we don't really see the emotional gravity of that. Then we see a forced romance between her and Forge as they're trying to get her powers back. Shortly after, there's this type of sleep paralysis demon. I'm just gonna call it that. And we don't have any concept of its origin or why it's there at all. Forge seals it away with magic that was never discussed before in any capacity. The demon comes back again as she fights through claustrophobia to get some of the magical cactus juice to help him from this bite he received from said sleep paralysis demon. She fights through the claustrophobia very easily, and then the demon shows up again with no explanation. She then defeats it and magically gets her powers back in the process. Her hair magically grows and her outfit magically changes like she's from Sailor Moon or something. This is just pure fan service, but there's no learning, there's no emotional weight or growth. I had no investment in it. With Evolution, this type of storyline would have never happened. The way that they executed the storyline involving Nightcrawler and Rogue and Mystique was so well done. They didn't give away anything, and they left small, slow build-up points over the course of the entire series. I understand that the newer series have tighter budgets and episode limits, but that's not an excuse for poor writing and poor storytelling. I had the idea for this before seeing the last episode, but there was so much waffling going on in the 97 series that I know Evolution would be a better choice for a continuation. Please let me know what y'all think in the comments. Do y'all agree? Do y'all disagree? Feel free to let me know, and we can have some conversation, and we'll just keep it nice and respectful, hopefully. Feel free to like, tell a friend, and sub. It's been your boy King Qwari signing out. Peace.
Don't you want a rematch? Don't give up. Challenge again.